Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the Sports Talk with Kerry Wehmeyer show, the special edition. We are going to be covering SEC Media Days, so we will be doing videos from the SEC Media Days today. So we will be doing that today. No news headlines. We will do only SEC Media Days. So we'll begin in just a few moments. Let me go ahead and send those links out to you. If you want to come in video chat, you can come in and video chat with us. Talk SEC Media Days. So we are covering today's SEC Media Days. SEC Media Days is this week. So we're going to be covering that here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So if you want to come in and comment about so we're going to set this up in a second. Let me put this in. I'll send that in. Okay, links are in, Isaac. Links are in. Links on the screen. So we're going to begin. Links on the screen. I don't know why he's don't understand. Okay, let's begin. Let's go ahead and switch over these the screens. I'm going to put in the videos. I'm going to start the videos right now. I'm going to start with Ed Orgeron talking about LSU's planning for 2021. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that now.
Coach at LSU, it's Ed Orgeron.
It's in the screen.
Will be scoring off against one of his sons in LSU's game with McNeese. His son Cody is the starting quarterback for the Cowboys.
What's up?
He also
what's up?
Nice spring reading.
So what's this about here? Like, what's this?
It's SEC Media Days, Isaac. You don't see it? I'm gonna put it on the screen.
LSU head football coach Ed Orgeron.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I know him.
There it is.
Yeah, that's the crazy coach with that accent, right?
Yeah, with the Cajun accent, Isaac. Cajun.
So, guys,
you don't know what Cajun is?
No.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the commissioner for the job that he and his office did last year.
How's it going?
A tremendous job of communicating with us.
Are you doing the Suns game tonight?
Sometimes on a daily basis.
What,
doing a great job of getting us through the season.
No.
Tremendous job I thought that he did personally.
Let me turn it down.
We're very proud.
If those game 7, you might do it.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it either Thursday either.
Oh, what's Thursday?
Not doing it. It's 8 o'clock, Isaac.
From our football team that are tremendous leaders.
Yeah. All right.
They're one of the top
players
in America.
I'll come back.
All
right, I'll see you later.
And they become a tremendous leader for us.
All right, once again, Isaac Ellerman coming in today, coming in and say hi. Okay, also SEC Media Days coach Orgeron, we'll have him first, and then we'll play after Ed Orgeron. We will play Dan Mullen, Shane Beamer, and also Kirby Smart. So we will be playing those boys today. So if you're in here, if you want to come in and talk about LSU football, once again, please chime in on the chat room, or you can do it on the video chat. That'll be fine.
I think those guys are going to do a tremendous job. I'm also excited about the acquisition of Brad Davis in the summer, one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. Along with Kevin Falk and Mickey Jones, those guys are going to do a tremendous job for us. Obviously, on offense, we got a battle with quarterback. I think it's healthy for a football team. I believe in both quarterbacks. Miles Brennan and Max Johnson, I think, are 2 championship quarterbacks. Whoever wins is going to do a great job at LSU. It's going to be a great battle. We're going to see what happens. We have offensive line coming back. Tyron Davis and John Emery. It's time. Tyron's in the best shape.
Yes, I think it is absolutely healthy to have a quarterback competition between Max Johnson and Miles Brennan, because the two of these two quarterbacks can determine whether they start or not. So I think it's a good healthy competition between those two. So let's once again, let's hear what Ed Ergeron had to say. So let me click it back in.
He's been Keyshawn Butte coming in with some tremendous young wide receivers. We have a great offense coming back. I can't wait to see those guys play. On defense, I'm very excited to be able to hire Durante Jones. He's an expert. On the back end comes from Mike Zimmer's system, one of the best cover guys in all of the world, along with Andre and along with Blake. I think those guys are going to do a great job with Corey Raymond on defense. We're excited to go to the 4-3 defense. Got our defensive line coming back. Got two of the best corners in America, and Derek and Eli Ricks. Got some young safeties, one of the top safeties in the country, two top safeties in recruiting. Got two tremendous young linebackers that we acquired through the transfer portal. And we're excited about that. We're excited about Cade Yard coming back, Avery Atkins on special teams. So I know you guys got a lot of questions, but I just want to give you a little preview of our football team. And any questions?
All right, thank you, Coach. If you have a question, raise your hand. Savannah, Riley, and AJ will get a microphone to you. We ask that you please stand and give your name and affiliation. So go ahead and start up here on the front row to the left with Bob.
Hey, Ed, Bob Holt, Inside Democrat. Is that how you doing? I know you made a lot of changes with your coaching staff. Why'd you pick the guys you did? How do you feel they're fitting in? And Brad Davis in particular from Arkansas, why'd you zero in on him and what's he bring to you guys?
First of all, great to see you, Bob. Brad Davis is a guy from Baton Rouge, tremendous recruiter, known from a while, up and coming offensive line coach. You always have a group of coaches on a list in case something happens. Something did happen, he became available. We're very happy to have him. He's happy to be home with Baton Rouge. One of the things that, and I talked about this before, our coaches didn't know this, but when I was interviewing them, I was pretending I was one of our players. And I wanted to see how well they would communicate to our players. Because, coaches are going to know a lot of football, but it's how much that they can get to our players and how much our players will know. And every one of these coaches, they were 20 years, average 20 years younger than the coaches I had on the staff. Every one of these coaches made an A+ in communication with our players.
Okay, we'll go over here on the left-hand side on the right out.
Hello, Ed. David Cloninger from the Charleston Post and Courier. About what percentage of your team has been vaccinated for COVID?
I can't tell you that. I think most of our guys have been vaccinated for COVID. And obviously that's a personal choice. But hopefully towards the season that most of our guys decide to get vaccinated.
Okay, we'll go right here on the second row, Ron.
Yeah, Ron Higgins, TigerEyeMagazine.com. Ed, how would you describe the past 12 months for you and your program? The tough season and all off the field stuff seemed like the hits just kept on coming.
Yeah.
And you could there's one crisis after another. Can you just describe how do you got through that and how do you continue to get through it?
Yeah, obviously, you come up from the 2019 season, you're feeling good. You had a great season, and all of a sudden stuff hits. But that's life. You got to be prepared. I think that some of the stuff we were prepared for, some of the stuff we weren't. But we stuck together as an administrative staff, as a staff. We fought through it. I think it shows when you go to Florida, you're 27-point underdog. Your back's against the wall. You got a freshman quarterback. You beat them in the swamp. You beat a great Ole Miss team. I think it was an outstanding team that Lane had. And then you have the number 3 recruiting class. And then you have 19 of your 22 starters decide to come back. So that says something's going on in the locker room. Something's going on. Our players are believing each other. And I think all those things at the end will end up being an ascending program.
Which will go right down in front of the second row.
Hey, Coach. Joey Blackwell with BamaCentral.com. What are your feelings? What is your approach to NIL and its implementation at LSU? And have you talked to your players about it? And how do you feel about its impact across the landscape of college football?
First of all, I'm for it. Sure. Whatever we can give to our players legally, I think they deserve it. We hired an outside firm to give us some advice on how to handle this stuff. A lot of our guys have taken the business on their own and done a very good job. I just know this, that, a lot of players, I think they're going to get a lot of stuff. Obviously, in the real world, it's not like that. You got to go out and compete. But I do hope that when we get to the locker room, the focus is on football. And I think that's where we got to bring the focus back. When it's time to focus on NIL stuff, focus on NIL stuff. When it's time to focus on football and academics, focus on football academics, and that's what I'm going to talk about.
Coach, we're going to go over to our left section, about 4 rows back.
Michael Katz, Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. And obviously, you have a history with Lane Kiffin from your time at USC. You also have a history with Ole Miss. I'm curious, when he was in the process of taking that job, did he reach out to you, and what sorts of information did you give to him? And on a sort of similar note, obviously we see Lane from afar. I'm curious what he's like, when the cameras aren't around. What is he kind of like as just a regular guy?
Yeah. First of all, I think Lane's one of the best offensive minds I've ever been around. Noticed that the first day. Lane's a friend of mine. He's a great recruiter. He's a great competitor. I think he's doing a great job at Ole Miss. He did not call me. I think his offenses are hard to stop. I studied his offenses against other teams. He's read other teams. He's probably the best game day caller I've been around. And I think that Ole Miss got them a great coach.
Coach, we're going to go all the way to the back and the right.
Lance Dahl here with the Auburn Network. You're talking about Durante Jones and how he's going to be able to help your defensive backfield. Schematically, what are some of the things that y'all are going to improve on in order to get your defensive backfield better prepared this season? I know y'all got the talent for sure.
We have to eliminate the explosive plays. We have too many explosive plays, too many missed assignments, too many busts, too many receivers running down the field free. We played a lot of man, a lot of combination man, stuff like that. Some of it was simple, some of it was too complicated. We're going to simplify stuff. We want our players to have their cleats in the grass. We're going to play a lot more zone. They won't be switching off at this level, switching off on that level. We're going to let our guys play, keep the ball in front of us, and make plays.
Coach, we'll go right down in front of me, about 3 rows back.
Tom Abraham, 97.7 ESPN. Coach, after a 10-game SEC schedule last year, any thoughts that you have about expanding the schedule to 9 or maybe even 10 in the future?
Yeah, if they do it, I'm for it. I thought it was great. I'm excited to go play UCLA. I'm excited to go across the country and take the Tigers to Los Angeles. I'm excited to play my son. So, both of us have some advantages. One thing as a coach, I don't worry about that stuff because that's out my wheelhouse. If I have a vote, I'll vote. But whatever they tell me to play, I'm going to play.
All right, we'll stay on this middle section on the left aisle.
Coach Ogeron, Drew Yarman, ESPN 97.7 Zone Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. Talk about Neil Farrell on your defensive line. He came back last year. He opted out, came back to the team. He stayed. He came back this year. One of those guys you're talking about. What are your expectations for him, and what kind of impact is Andre Carter going to have with him?
Yeah, first of all, I'm so proud of Neil Farrell. I saw him down the hallway yesterday. I found out he just graduated from LSU. And I'm so happy for him and his mom and daddy. He's a great young man. Came back. Neil makes a lot of plays. If you look at the stats last year, he's one of our most active defensive linemen. He came back, got in great shape. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year for us. We're going to use a rotating defensive line. We have some young defensive linemen that are phenomenal. Probably the best recruiting class that we had on the defensive line coming in. Andre Carter is a force. He's a great young man. The thing about this, he had 80.5 sacks. His dad is Reuben Carter. He comes from a great family, great stock. He's a great teacher, he's a great mentor, a great recruiter. I just hope I can keep him around for a while. He's that good of a football coach.
Okay, we're going to go right in the center section, right in front of you, Coach, about midway back.
Hey, Coach, Billy Embody with 24/7 Sports. The 2022 class in Louisiana is especially stacked. Can you speak to the job you guys are doing recruiting the state, and do you notice it being even more competitive this year than maybe in other years?
Yeah, well, it's very competitive. It always is, but obviously we have to start and say we're doing very well right now. We have a big jump, and the guys that are committed in our class have become leaders and become recruiters, and are recruiting the other guys in the state of Louisiana. We expect some good news coming up soon. We're going to be in some battles to the very end to some of the top players, but I do expect us to get most of these players. I'm not saying we're going to get all of them. I do expect us to get most.
Coach, we'll go over to our right side and about 3/4 of the way back.
Ed, this is Pete Thamel from Yahoo Sports back here. In the past few months at LSU as a school, the athletic department and you personally have been linked to some serious sexual misconduct allegations. I know there's obviously some
I didn't talk about that.
I'm not as much asking you to comment on that specifically as Curious if the past few months you've had any takeaways in terms of change behaviors and how you're going to maybe act differently as a coach in handling such situations in the future.
Yeah, that's something I'm not going to comment on. It's ongoing investigation. I'm not going to comment on any of that. Thanks for asking me.
Okay, we'll go in the center section, straight ahead of us.
Hey, John Del Bianco with thebigsport.com and 24/7 Sports. Your first head coaching job was here in the SEC at Ole Miss. Shane Beamer is now a first-time head coach in the SEC at South Carolina. I'm just curious if you know him personally and what advice you would give him as he begins his head coaching tenure in the SEC.
Yeah, I know him a little bit. I saw him at the airport. They said, Coach, South Carolina was here early. I said, yeah, it's his first job. Good. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to do a great job. I think, when I was at Knoxville, I thought that, in the Knoxville area, you go to South Carolina, there's a tremendous amount of talent in South Carolina and North Carolina. I think that he's going to do a tremendous job. He's a great coach. I wish him the very best.
Okay, we'll go to the back on the left. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Jacques Doucet, WAFB, Baton Rouge. You talked about the new coaches. What we're hearing is the chemistry really is good between the new coaches and the players, and nothing against last year's coaches, but the chemistry seemed to be off last year. Can you speak a little bit more to that, how these coaches are adapting to the players?
Well, I'm glad to say that, Jock. That's the reason I hired those guys. And I did my research. I called people that knew them. I wanted to know how they interacted with the players. I called some of the ex-players that they coached. I said, tell me how he is on a daily basis. Everybody can be one way in an interview, but I want to know how they're going to be every day. And I did my research on these guys, and they matched everything that the ex-players told me, the ex-coaches told me, and the knowledge that they have. One thing that I'm very impressed with that I didn't really, because they're young coaches, they've never been coordinators, their ability to lead. I think they're tremendous leaders. They're in the office early in the morning. They're very well organized. And sometimes when it's your first time, you don't know how well organized that you have to be, the work that you have to put in. These guys are graded A+ in that area.
We'll go down here to the right, Scooter.
Scooter Hobbs, Lake Charles, American Press. With the NIL and the transfer portal, you obviously have to manage your roster a little bit with the latter.
Mm-hmm.
But with both of those, do you have to manage team chemistry? Like if one guy gets a big NIL deal, others getting jealous of him, things like that. Do you worry about that?
I think that's one of the biggest things to manage nowadays. And again, I'm going to turn 60 this summer. Hey, football's changing. I'm going to change with it. I want to coach for a long time, but that's what I have to do. That's what I have to do. I think that, we have to realize the guys that are getting the NILs, getting the amount of money, and make sure that we're managing guys that may not get the job, talk to them, make sure that does not bother them. That's why, we have about 50 people helping us. Not 50 people that can coach on the field, but for player services, for guiding people through academics. That's why we need all this help.
Coach, we'll go over here to the left middle section, up in the middle first. Go ahead. Cecil, go ahead if you got it. There we go.
Coach, you mentioned going back to the offense from 2 years ago, the Joey Burrow offense. Are the two quarterback candidates that you have, or there may be more than two, but are the quarterbacks you have, are they equally adroit at running that, or how has that worked out in practice?
Well, I don't know if we're going to see another Joe Burrow. I hope we do. I can't wait to see him. And I hope Max, Miles, or Garrett Nussmeier becomes like that. But the type of offense that we're going to run, the style of offense in 2019, the type of checks that we had, the type of protections, that's the stuff I'm talking about now. Whether or not Max, Miles, or Garrett can run it like Joe, I'm not expecting that. But I want to see the same type of plays. I want to see the same type of adjustments that was so successful for us. Now, that doesn't mean that's the only thing we're going to run. But that is going to be the basis of our offense, which is a spread offense, which we learned under Joe Brady.
Okay, we'll stay over in that same section. Go ahead.
Hey, Ed, Mark Weiser, Athens Banner Herald. Did you think you guys had a chance to keep Eric Gilbert as you looked at his options? And what do you see for him at Georgia, where they're listing him as a wide receiver?
We wish Eric the best. He's an outstanding young man. Mama's a great lady. I think he's going to be an all-pro, an All-American. has a chance to be a first-round draft choice.
Coach, we'll go over here to the right side. Well,
Theodore Sir, Commercial Dispatch, Columbus, Mississippi. Mississippi State, your first SEC game this year. It's on the road. Obviously, that was a big upset last year. What kind of adjustments are you going to have to make for this game? And what kind of program is Mike running over there, sir?
Yeah, they'll stop his offense. They stop it one time. But obviously, he came in with the air raid the first time. We had seen it before, obviously, but we didn't do a good job with it. And then we saw the people did some good things against us. So the more stuff you put on tape, the more we would learn how to stop it. Obviously, go and play there. I think Mississippi State does a great job of playing there. The cowbells and all that noise. It's our first SEC game. It's a game that we must win to get to where we want to go. This is the SEC. You got to be ready every Saturday. But you know what? Instead of, and you asked me about that, instead of worrying about all that stuff, my focus is going to be on camp and this football team and getting them better starting August 6th.
we'll go back here to Ron Higgins on the second row.
You talked about doing your homework and hiring the new coaches, and you kind of mentioned this on the Zoom call back in the spring. We're trying to get clarification. The coaches you hired in 2020, did you interview all of them? I mean, or part of them? But you try to get. We weren't clear when you talked about that.
But there were some interviews that were not face to face. There were some hires that were made, and hey, you know what? I know the guy. He knows me. Let's talk about it. Hey, this is what we're going to run, stuff like that. But when I hired Bo, it was not a formal interview. I know that's part of what you're asking. And I believed him, and it just didn't work. And I said, I would never do that again. And every one of these guys, I interviewed them in person. I had a long interview with them. I had specific questions that I asked, things that I may have should have asked, I shouldn't have. If I'd have interviewed Bo Pelini face to face, I'd still hired him. There would have been no change in that because of his reputation and because of the guy. Though I'm sure of that.
Coach, we'll go over here to the right, about the fourth row.
Hey, Ed, Adam Leck at Kentucky Sports Radio. Darren Rosenthal is an offensive tackle. He's going to Kentucky. What type of player is Mark Stoops' program getting?
Yeah.
And what's it going to be like facing an intra-conference transfer this year?
Yeah, well, it's different. Obviously, we hated to lose them. I recruited there at Faraday High School. The defensive lineman went to offensive line. He didn't want to leave. It was hard on him. I think you got a potential first-round draft choice there. And Darren knows he's got some stuff that he needs to get better at. I don't know. Sure, Kentucky's going to see that, but he's a great young man, a great team player. But he's going to be wearing another helmet, and he's going to be trying his best. I'm going to expect his best against us, and he's going to get our best. I know he expects that. That's just the way it is.
We're going to go to the middle section about midway back. Got a question right over here.
Brooks Cabina from the Advocate. Ed, all the changes, coaching and players as well. How do you maintain the program as you want it going towards the future? Going off of last year and trying. And I think you talked about LSU standards and such. But all these things changing.
Well, that program has been set. That program is set, and the people that are around me have helped me build that program. I have pillars on my staff that are still there. I have pillars on my support staff that are still there, and they understand the program that we put in place since I've been the head coach, and we started from scratch. So there's some things some philosophies that we're going to stay with. There's some changes that we have to make, but every one of these guys that I interviewed, I specifically told them what I wanted done, and they specifically agreed to that. And I think that those guys have done a good job since they've been hired. And they understand the format, they understand how we're going to practice, they understand what I want, and they've done a good job with it. So I see no problem for us continuing to, at the LSU standard performance. Now we got to coach better, and we got to play better.
Coach, we'll go back here with Bob in the front row.
Yeah, this is a two-part question. Kevin can help you remember the other part if you forget. He's used to me. But the first part is, both your new coordinators had a connection to your previous, coordinators. How important was that? How that play into the recruiting process? How far was that McNeese game scheduled? It's kind of how the coach faces his son, and you're going to be in game plans that week trying to figure out how to hit him and force turnovers and sack him and whatever. What's that going to be like?
Yeah, well, first of all, me relying on former coordinators that I trust was very, very instrumental in me hiring both of our coordinators. In fact, that's about 80% of it, to be honest with you. Playing Cody, Cody is a very competitive young man. And playing McNeese State, Frank Wilson is a good friend of mine. Well, Frank is one of the best assistant coaches ever at LSU, a great recruiter. And his family. They're going to give us their best shot. My son's going to give us, he's going to give me all I can get. And guess what? I'm going to give him all I can give him. And that's just the way it's going to be. He's going to expect my best, and I'm going to expect his best, and we're going to compete. We're going to shake hands and hug after the game. That's just the way it's going to be.
Coach will go to the back of the room on the right side.
Hey, Coach. Kate Adams, WFB TV Baton Rouge. Since your time at LSU, coming in as interim head coach in 2016, then fast forward to one of the greatest college football teams ever in 2019, then a crazy year with the pandemic in 2020. Going into 2021, what is one of the biggest lessons you've learned, especially in these last 3 years, that you're going to take into this year as head coach, and then also a message that you want your team to have this year?
Yeah, do it the way I want. That's it. It's not done the way I want, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it immediately. I see something broke, I'm fixing it. LSU standard of performance, the way we have done things. This reminds me a lot of the 2018 season. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of noise out there. You got to block out the noise. A lot of predictions on this and this. That stuff don't matter. It's about our football team. It's about me gelling this football team together, for us playing together. I think in leadership, not letting any outside influences affect us, the way we play, the way we perform. I think that's going to be important for this football team. We've had more team meals. I've had more leadership committees. I told these guys, you got to promise me if anything is going wrong, let me know first. If I can fix it, I will. Let's communicate. If there's something that we need to be done better in our university that I can help, I will help. We're giving them all the means that we can to have an open line of communication. And I think that's going to help for this year.
Coach will go over to the right side, about 3/4 of the way back.
Hey, Coach. Travis Brown with the Bryan College Station Eagle. How much do you have to pay attention to what other programs around the country and around the conference are doing as far as NLI stuff is, or NIL stuff is going, and how that might anecdotally help them in recruiting? Is there anything that you see out there that makes you kind of roll your eyes?
That's a good question. One of the things that we did in the offseason, hired Austin Thomas back as our general manager. He's done a tremendous job putting together a personnel department, putting together a department that pays attention to all that stuff. I don't have time about it. I don't want to. But if some other schools are doing stuff because it's new and it's something that we're not doing, it's something that we can do, we have to use it to compete. We all learn from each other, just like watching film. If a coach at another school is running something on offense, we may steal it from them, they may steal it from us. I think that's going to be the same thing.
Coach will go to the back of the room on the left top.
Hey, Coach, there's a view that there are some schools in the SEC that have a competitive advantage and a recruiting advantage over other schools because there's no uniform drug policy in the Southeastern Conference, and some people have spoken out about that. Would you like to see a uniform drug policy in the SEC?
That's a very delicate subject. LSU has its own drug policy that's run by the administration. I follow that policy. I don't know if a uniform drug policy would help or not. I haven't thought of that question or to give you a great answer. I know that I hear some schools are different than others. I don't know that. I just know what our policy is and we follow.
Okay, we'll go to the center section on the left eye. Okay.
Ivan Mazel with on3.com, Ed. Given the number of super seniors this year and the number of seniors that were able to come back, how much will that affect the quality or sophistication of what you see in offenses play LSU this year?
It should be great. I think you got some returning guys. COVID helped us. We'd have lost our whole offensive line, our whole defensive line. It'd have been tough to replace all those guys, but these offenses are on fire right now. And I think what you're seeing is guys are coming back, running the same plays, doing the same thing, skill positions. Our skill positions are loaded just like other schools, 7-on-7. There's no more fullbacks. So all those things, I think that you're going to see some explosive offenses. Defensive guys, we got to catch up. We're a little bit behind.
All right, Coach O, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. Go Tigers.
Okay, once again, next one we will go over to Dan Mullen. So we'll go over to Dan Mullen, and we'll go over to so if we have time, we'll go with Dan. Let's go ahead and go over to Dan Mullen.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's great to be up here. Great to see all of you again. I know you just asked me about Jeffrey's an extraordinary young man, and one of the reasons why you coach is to make a positive impact on people's lives. Hopefully, I was able to make a positive impact on a Jeffrey Simmons' life, and I can guarantee you he'll make a positive impact on a lot of people's lives for years to come. So that's one of the reasons we coach. I know people don't see it that way, or that part of it as the limelight, but one of the reasons, the biggest reason really, coaches make a positive impact on young men's lives. I want to say it's great to be up here. It's really exciting to be back, to see everybody here, and the excitement of media days, the excitement of the season coming up, being live in person again, not having to look at everybody just through computer screens, and to do that. I'm really excited to be here, excited to get this season kicked off. We open up at home against Florida Atlantic. FAU is going to be Saturday night in the Swamp. Can't wait. I know the excitement, the energy. Last year was a hard year for everybody, but now as you start to see these different sporting events, you look at things that are going on with the with the Lightning winning the Stanley Cup and the energy in the stadium. And you realize how much you missed that. Even getting to watch the College World Series in Omaha, seeing basically the entire state of Mississippi move to Omaha to cheer on Mississippi State and have them win that national championship for the Southeastern Conference, and for Mississippi State and people of Mississippi winning that national championship was amazing. But that energy in the stadium, those are things that we really missed. And I can't wait for that opening night in the Swamp and feel that energy and excitement of our fans and everybody coming out to see us come play again. A lot of exciting things going on for us right now after coming off a great year. Obviously, a little bit of challenge offensively. It'll be different this year. 2 first-rounders last year on the offensive side of the ball, and a second-rounder, quarterback. Guys leaving on to the NFL. It's great to see those guys have that success go on to the next stage. But there's a lot of production to go fill offensively that we're really excited about on the offensive side of the ball. We have a couple quarterbacks that have experience. I know Emory Jones coming back and Anthony Richardson competing for that job with them. But if you look at those guys and what they've been able to do with the experience they have, if you get into statistics and go look at Emory Jones' statistics, he's a guy that's played a bunch of football. He's not coming in as a guy that's never played before. So really excited about that. We lost a lot of production at the receiver, tight end position, but we still have a lot coming back. We rotate those guys a lot. We've tried to do a great job of creating depth at those positions. I think media days last year, the number one question I would have got is, hey, you just lost 4 receivers to the NFL draft. How are you going to be able to come back in production in the passing game? And we were able to come back because of how we play within our system of playing a lot of different guys. They've had experience. So the next guys are going to have their opportunity to get the ball in their hands and make things happen. And then we also have a lot of veteran players on the offensive line and especially the running back position this year. So that's going to be will be a little bit different offensively. But that's part of the fun of coaching, is being able to adapt, change, and build around the strength of players that we have. Defensive attitude. We today brought 2 of our defensive players with us, Zach Carter and Ventrell Miller. And, you look at the leadership those guys bring on defense that we have. We have some really young players in the secondary. But you got Trey Dean and Kyer Elam with some experience coming back there. But really, to me, the attitude of where our defense is at is where I'm really pleased with. The energy, I think everybody knows we play a lot of guys defensively, roll guys through to keep them fresh and healthy. And I'm really excited though of the mindset, the attitude that the defense as a whole is bringing to the table, and the leadership that they have within our program. A lot of big things for this year. I mean, we've been to 3 straight New Year's Six bowl games. Hopefully, we can get that one step further into a New Year's Six playoff game this year. Love the opportunity to get back to Atlanta to compete for another SEC championship again this year, like we did last year. It was really exciting. We have progress come along on the Hefner football complex, which is going to be really the premier facility in all of college football, and hope this time next year we'll be in a brand new facility. A lot of exciting things happening, and on campus, a lot of exciting things happening. We have, I think, starting Friday with the opening ceremony, we'll have 30 Gators in the Olympics starting this Friday. So it's an exciting time, but it's the biggest excitement obviously is being here, seeing all of you in person again, and the excitement of knowing that here in what about 6 weeks away that we're going to be back in and playing college football and in front of the Gator Nation out there in the swamp, and really excited to kick this year off and get that going.
Thank you, Coach Mullen, for your opening comments. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Savannah, Riley, and AJ will bring a microphone to you. So we'll go ahead and start over here on my left on the second row.
Hello, Dan. David Cloninger with the Charleston Post and Courier. What percentage of your team has been vaccinated for COVID?
I'm not going to get into the specific numbers right now. But I think we're doing very well with those numbers. I think, when you look at COVID and what we dealt with last year, I think our medical staff, Paul Sylvester, our training staff, has done a phenomenal job of educating our players. Obviously, in the state of Florida, our governor has done an amazing job with the accessibility of the vaccine for quite a while now. And then, we have the UF Shands hospital system throughout the entire pandemic's done an amazing job of what we've done. So we are at a pretty high number of vaccinated players right now. But I think that the medical staff and really, look at the Governor DeSantis, what he's been able to do, and the leadership of UF Shands hospital system on campus has really been beneficial for our program. And the university as a whole, and we're getting close to a very high the threshold numbers that we need to be at.
Okay, we'll stay right down here in front, Tom.
Hey, Dan, Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat. Given your quarterback scenario that you mentioned a moment ago, you feel like you maybe go back to your bread and butter roots? Is there a tweak to your system that you think these guys will offer?
Yeah, I guess after, I think as Greg mentioned, 13 years here, I don't know which my bread and butter is, because we've been all over the place with every different style of quarterback. From if you go back to even being a coordinator, you go back to the Alex Smiths and the Chris Leaks, through the Tebows, to Tyler Russell and Dak Prescott. I mean, there's been so many different variations. I think the key to it is, and one of the reasons we've been successful is never trying to take a square peg and put it into a round hole. Is let's identify what our guys do really well and build around the strengths, not just the quarterback, but the offense as a whole. And we will go to do that this year and build around the strengths of our quarterbacks.
Okay, we'll stay on the center section along the left-hand aisle.
Coach Mullen, Drew DeArmond, ESPN 97.7 The Zone Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. I wanted to ask about a local kid from my community, Jaden Hill, the process he's made in your defense. I know the secondary is a big key for you guys to bounce back this year. And also, we know after the Missouri game last year, you're obviously a Star Wars fan. What is your favorite movie of the genre?
Cool. All right. Well, the Jaden Hill is much easier than the Star Wars question, because, right? I mean, you can go so many different directions with the Star Wars question, but the Jaden Hill has done an amazing job. You're looking at a young guy was injured in high school, came in, played for us, got over that injury, has continued to work, has had a great mindset, a great attitude. Obviously, really, great family, high character. Excellent student in the classroom, studies the game. And, you look, I think he's going now into his third season with us. First year, you kind of learn and figure it out. Second year, you get the opportunity and take it take a growth to learn where you are. And we really, I expect him to jump into, being a starter, being an every down player for us this season. And, so you really excited to see that growth throughout guys' career. And you talk about development, and you look at the growth throughout their career. I think, yeah, people get all excited. I want to see this guy play right away. I'm more excited to see, are we seeing a consistent growth throughout your career? And Jaden's a guy that's done that.
All right, we'll go over here to the right, along the aisle.
Hey Dan, Jordan Hill with Black Auburn News. I want to ask about Mahmoud Diabate. Just what have you seen from him this offseason, and what you feel like he can do with the defense this year?
Well, I think, Mahmoud's a really great athlete and, dynamic player with speed and burst coming off the edge. I think he's a guy, because of that, you've seen us. I love creating matchup issues. I think if you watch us offensively last year, with guys, we try to do a great job, and I spent a lot of time with Todd and the defensive staff, making sure we're creating positive matchups. So Mahmoud's a guy that creates matchup issues for guys, and I think now when you see him as he's growing into being a linebacker, you see him really growing into the instincts of being an every down player. Now is where the matchups really become a problem, because now I can be an every down player at backer. Now I can come off the edge. I can carry people in coverage. I understand the defense as a whole, and now I get to use my athleticism to become a dynamic playmaker.
Coach, we'll go back over to our left, second row.
John Adams, KnoxNews.com. Dan, do you think it's harder to win a championship now than when you guys did it at Florida, when you were an offensive coordinator in 06 and 08?
I don't know. There's more teams in the league, so I guess statistically speaking, it would make it harder. I think the league right now that was at the beginning of where the league is today. So I think top to bottom, the league is probably even at a higher level now than it was then on top to bottom teams. So I think that part of it makes it a little bit harder. I think there were some unbelievable high-end teams back then. I mean, I remember going in 08, the SEC championship game was against, I think we were number 2 at Florida. Now it was 1. I think we were 2 or 3. So when you're looking there, that the high end was still there of teams that are going to compete for the national championship. I think the depth has certainly grown in the league and made it more difficult on a week-to-week basis.
Okay, we'll stay on the left side all the way on the wall.
Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel. Coach, after the bowl game last year and the opt-outs that you guys had, you said, hey, something's going to need to change with the postseason. Just wondering your feelings on the proposed 12-team playoff, and are you for that?
I don't know. I mean, you have to look at it. I mean, honestly, I could pull up my Jurgen Klopp and say, hey, that's a question for Commissioner Sankey. I'm just here to coach football. But I think change. I think when the playoffs started, if you would have asked me when you created the 14 playoff, I'm sure someone did. If you ever look back in files, I said it's going to change a lot of things about college football. Not immediately, but over the long haul, it will change a lot of things about college football. And I think it will. And I think eventually we will end up getting to an expansion. I would imagine that would come sometime in the future. But I think we're still learning. It's interesting to see. Last year we had several opt-outs during the bowl game. Now, last year was also a very, very difficult year as a whole, mentally and emotionally for players. And the previous 2 years, we didn't have any opt-outs for bowl games. So when you look at it, I don't know if that was a one-off or how it's going to change in the long-term picture of how that'll change things. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think college football will continue to evolve. And once the playoff system started, I think that just was the first step of the college football old bowl system that you knew and the college football we knew changing into the future.
Coach, we'll go right down front to Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Dan, Bob Holtarg, Inside Democrat Gazette. I just wonder what your thoughts were on the name, image, and likeness now, how things are going for you guys with Florida.
It's a learning curve. Obviously, you're looking at the state law that we have in Florida, and anytime you're adapting to a new law within the state and a law that directly affects our football program, there's a big learning curve, and I'm excited. I'm really excited about it. Excited for the opportunities it presents our players. I think it's great for the players, but I think there is a big learning curve. We had a meeting on it this morning, with a team meeting on it this morning, of continuing to educate ourselves, educate each other, continue to grow and learn within the law. What's the best way to help the players operating within the law and doing things the right way? And I think we're going to be on a learning curve here for a little bit of time, as we get into it. I have to get a special name, image, and likeness lawyers interpreting the state law to make sure that we get it set the right way.
We'll stay over in the left section in the middle.
Yeah, Edgar Thompson, the Orlando Sentinel. Dan, what caught your eye initially, but for Emory Jones, like going back years ago, where has he grown the most in all this time you've known him, and what are your expectations of him?
Well, I think if you know me with quarterbacks, I have very, very high expectations of my quarterbacks. So my expectations are extremely high. I think, when it goes back to recruiting, when I got hired at Florida, I had a message that Emory sent me, and I just sent him a text. He was committed to another school at the time. He sent a text. He says, "Coach, I think when this shakes out, I'll be ready. I want to be your quarterback." And not, I want to look at Florida, I want to consider this, or I'm thinking about flipping schools. It was, I want to be your quarterback. And so I think that part of when you look at who guys are is so critical. And who they've become. And then if you look at his progression, I mean, he came in as a very celebrated high school player, highly ranked player. And I think for a couple of years now, he's learned, he's grown, he's developed. He's a completely different player he was when he walked in his understanding of the game and in his maturity. And I have a lot of respect for guys. I think if you watch and you look at a lot of guys that have had success throughout the years, he had the opportunity to look at a Kyle Trask, who went from a pretty much an unrecruited player that he came in and worked, prepared, bought his time, learned how to do it the right way. All of a sudden was a Heisman Trophy finalist, and then now is an NFL player and, a second-round draft pick in the NFL. And I think when you look at that, you look at a Dak Prescott who didn't play for his first several years on campus, and now is highest paid one of the athletes in the country this year. I think Emory showed the maturity early on that it wasn't, I have to play day one. It was, I need to continue to be developed from day one to be prepared for my moment and my time. And that's really what he's been able to do. And that, as I said, you're looking at a guy that's going to, as he comes into the season, he's not coming in with a stat line of nothing. He's coming in with a stat line that he's played at key times in significant games. And, I think that's huge, and it's prepared him for this time.
Okay, we'll go to the center section alongside the right aisle.
Conor O'Gara, Saturday Down South. Dan, what's the biggest reason that your defense never figured it out last year?
I don't know about that, because I think if you look in different games, we're very maybe erratic defensively at different times. But there's a lot of different things that go into that. There's some games we played really, really well defensively. There's some games where I thought we played well, but statistically maybe weren't great. And if you look in a lot of those games if you were going to play us on the other side of the ball, you had to play a different style game maybe than you wanted to or expected to, and take a lot of chances because we were going to score points, and you had to try to keep
a couple more minutes left.
We jumped out to a big lead, and you were just kind of, just throw caution to the wind to try to put up yards and points as fast as possible. And there's other game, one or two early in the year. I certainly think the learning curve of missing a spring practice and the time off and the speed of the game of going to tackle live for the players, and the time off of not being able to do that, I think that showed early in the season, and that improved as the year went on. So I don't know, there's one thing to say that it was statistically was not where we want to be. But when I look and I go through game by game situations, I think it's easy to identify in this game here were our issues, and it wasn't one specific thing.
Okay, we'll go all the way to the back left. Cecil.
Hey, Coach. Cecil Hart from the Tuscaloosa News. Alabama will be visiting Gainesville for the first time, given the quirks of the SEC schedule, first time in 10 years. And just talk about the opportunity to play that game in sort of a non-neutral setting and have the home crowd for that game.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. You know, I get the commissioner in trouble here, but you know, I mean, I'd love this to maybe do away with the permanent crossover team, and so you get these type of games more often. I think for the players, for the fan bases, I really think it's exciting to see some more of maybe you know, mixing up the teams from the West and playing two different teams each year instead of a permanent crossover. I think that'd be really exciting because so you get this matchup. So it's going to be an exciting day. It's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a fun game to be a part of. And as you said, you know, for 10 years we haven't seen it. You'd love to see that more. I mean, there's teams that'll visit. There's non-conference teams that are going to visit the Swamp a lot more than conference teams. And I think you would love to see maybe a better rotation of those teams.
Okay, we'll go to front left. Tom?
Yeah, Tom Murphy again, ADG. I also had a schedule question for you. Your take on this, it's interesting. You got a front-loaded kind of home schedule, and then after October 9th, you don't play another conference home game. So I just want to get your take on how that might shake out.
Yeah, it's well, yeah, because our conference home game's in Jacksonville this year, and when you play a neutral site game, it kind of throws that off your home and away schedule, you know. So we have one already set. I think, you know, I mean, I don't know how you'd ever do it, but if the league ever wanted to go to 9-game schedule, which I don't think we're anybody's jumping up and down about right now. But I guess one way you do is play 4 home, 4 away in a neutral site game, and you can find some different ways or matchups that everybody got to do that, and that'd be one interesting way to do it. And then you have the same number of home and away games would help. But you know, our one game in that stretch that would be the Georgia game, and that's going to be in Jacksonville.
Coach, we'll go over here to our right in the middle.
Coach Stefan Krajnik with the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. You mentioned Jeffrey Simmons a little bit earlier. Just, you know, your overall tenure there at Mississippi State. I mean, how much do examples like him still stick out as something you try to incorporate with what you're doing at Florida?
Well, a ton. I mean, I think when you look at players and you look at guys that have become successful, as I touched on earlier, you know, and the most rewarding thing about being a coach is seeing a young person become successful. And accomplishing goals and living out their dreams. There's no more rewarding thing as a coach than that. You know, we've won championships. You know, we won a lot of games, lost some games, but really the thing that sticks with you and rewarding is helping a young person accomplish their goals and their dreams in life. And so those are the ones that stick with you. And you know, I had a lot of great players played for me throughout the years. A lot of guys at Mississippi State that played for me. And, you know, when you see the success stories they have, and I'm not talking about, obviously, you know, Jeffrey in his personal life, Jeffrey in his football life, extremely successful. But you can go all the way. It's beyond football. It's guys off the field and the success they have off the field. And the family men they are now is one of the things that makes you the most proud of as a coach. And that's really the most rewarding thing that you get as a coach.
Coach, we'll go over here in the left corner.
Hey, Dan, Vince Farrar from 99.1 The Sports Animal in Knoxville. Wondering, with Josh Heupel coming over from the state of Florida, if you can share any thoughts or insights on what you think about Josh Heupel.
You know, I was going through my years. I don't know that I've ever faced him. You know, so I know he's been successful everywhere he's been throughout his career. And so I think he'll bring a lot of excitement. I know offensively they're always a challenge. They're an exciting team to watch and have a great system, put up some big numbers. And so it'll be a great challenge to finally get the opportunity to go against them.
Coach, we'll take one final question over here on our right, along the wall.
Hey, Dan. Tony Sakalas, BamaInsider.com. When you look at Alabama's recruiting success in the state of Florida, I think they've pulled more 5-stars from that state than any other school, even the Florida schools. How do you go about battling that, and are you concerned about that, and how do you go about changing the tide of that?
But I think that, a couple things. I think they've built the program. Nick's been there a long time and done a really a good job of building a consistent program and consistency within his program. I guess the short answer to that is, nobody asked my opinion on ratings. So I rate everybody a little bit differently on who we go after and who we want that way. But for us, I think with the facilities that we're getting caught up with, when you look at the University of Florida now, and you look at the only school in America that is a top 10 public university academically, and really considered a top 10 football program consistently over the last 3 years, you're looking at that change. You look at the facilities that we have academically, the opportunity to play in the Swamp, the opportunity now with name, image, and likeness, and what that means to kids in Florida and how they'll be able to brand themselves within their hometowns of Florida. Then you look at the Hefner Football Complex coming up now to catch us up facility-wise with other teams in America. That's really, I think, how it's going to change, where, if you look at it, that's a school of saying, hey, I don't know if there's a better place you can go in America than Florida if you want the complete package. If you want every aspect of it, with alumni connections, with the education, with the opportunity to play for championships and the facilities, I don't know if there's a better place than Florida.
Coach Mullen, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Alabama has a record number.
Okay, once again, that's today's SEC Media Days. We had Ed Ergeron. We also had Dan Mullin. Tomorrow we'll have we'll have Shane Beamer and Kirby Smart and many more coaches that'll be on day number 3 of SEC Media Days. So once again, thanks for joining us here for this edition of Sports Talk with Kerry Wehmeyer Show. We'll be back on once again tomorrow, covering SEC Media Days once more. So throughout the week as well. So we will not have any news articles that we will show you, but we will have SEC Media Days throughout the week. So stay tuned. So once again, thanks for joining us. Everybody have a good rest of your Tuesday afternoon, and we'll be back tomorrow for Sports Talk.